Hello, Jill. Hello, Jack. Hello, Catherine. Hold on one second. Oh, it is so cold up here. Even with the heater on, it's cold in this room. It's 14 degrees out, Annie says. Okay, so what we're going to do is just fool around for a couple of weeks. Try some different things, try a different series of things, and kind of like we did with Fang Zhonggong. Because I think we went through like 18 or 20 different exercises, and then we ended up, I think, we went through 18, we ended up picking eight, and we made a routine out of eight. And it's a nice routine. It's one that's long enough that you literally can take the whole hour with it, or it's short enough, and of course you can just pick and choose. And it's kind of the same with this. So there are endless exercises that we can do. We'll do a few today. We'll just keep playing with it, and then we'll see what it is we want to put together to work for us. My own feeling on this is that we should start with Tai Chi ruler. So Tai Chi Bang used for Qigong, as opposed to Tai Chi ruler used for Qina, which is really, yeah, exactly, which is really a Tai Chi thing rather than a Qigong thing, even though it is also Qigong. But let's start with the light one.
Mhm.
Now, yes, Jill.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Is that the inconsistent start time actually kind of disturbs me a little bit because I feel like I'm waiting around, which I shouldn't. I should just be practicing. But what I was going to offer as a suggestion is that maybe, it's like if we have a consistent 9-10 start time, not necessarily for you to be here, but is that we always have a little warm up that we do for like 10 minutes.
Okay, so you want to start at 9:10. Is that
Hmm.
correct? And
Yeah.
you want to do a warm up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Then you
Yes.
are going to lead it.
Okay.
Be here at 9:10, and whoever is here, you lead them in a 5-minute warm up. Okay?
Okay.
Good. You got it. All
Great.
right. So when you do the Tai Chi Bang, the outer movement is very simple, right? Uh, tai Chi Bang for China, well, that's a little more complicated. But the stuff we're going to do is very simple. So it's not about what you do with the stick. It's about what you do with the inside. So we're going to start with the most simple, basic exercises you can do in Tai Chi and Qigong. You can do them with a stick. You can do them with the big stick. You can do them open handed. People do them all the time when you are practicing. They're just the foundation of everything. But you have to do them right, or you're not really doing anything. The outer exercise is simple. The inner exercise is actually also simple, but most people don't do the inner exercise. And so they're just sort of Master Zhang used to just call it cosmetic Tai Chi or cosmetic Qigong. Looks good. Tamen Han Ha Han. Tamen Han Ha Han. Oh, they look so good. Dan Meo Yang. But it's no use. All right. So let's do the simplest possible exercise. All right. Grab your stick in the middle. All right. And now twist it. All right, Catherine, tell me, what are you doing on the inside?
Right now, right now, nothing. I'm just trying to understand the exercise. So,
The the exercise, you can do it in the middle, you can do it on the outer. It doesn't particularly matter. Um, what you're doing is what you do with the stick is a mirror image of what you should be doing inside. But there are levels and levels and levels of that. So the absolute simplest thing you should be doing, and it's not just that you should understand this, you should be using your mind to do this, all right, is you're rotating your dantian. So simple. Just think of it a ball down here in your abdomen, and if you're going forward, then you're rotating the ball forward. Very simple. Yes, Jill.
For some reason, I was rotating only half of my dantian.
Which half?
Uh, so it was whichever was going forward was the half that I was moving forward.
So stand back a little bit so we can see your dantian and tell me what you mean.
So
So
right,
right side,
left,
left side,
right,
right side,
left.
left side. So what you're saying is the dantian has two halves like this one. And first you turn one half forward, then you turn the other half forward. Yes, that's exactly right.
Oh,
Now, let me point out to everyone what Jill just did is very simple, but it's absolutely critical. You have to watch yourself inside and see what happens, right? Tai Chi and Qigong is a little bit like having a science lab, and you do this science experiment and then you watch and you see what happens, and then you make a hypothesis, and then you do another experiment to see whether that hypothesis holds up. And that's exactly what you do here. You're going to turn on one side, then you're going to turn on the other side, then right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, now Jill and anybody else can jump in on this too. Having established that that is true, what does that tell you? What's your hypothesis based on those observations?
That well, I guess I think of it in terms of like the opening and closing. And
Yes.
it's like half of you can be open and the other half closed, and it
Yes.
works like an organ, like a
Yes. Works like a bellows.
yeah.
Right. Exactly. So there's one observation. Open and close, right? Oh, this just closed. But this on the left, the right side just closed, the left side just opened. Now the left side closes and the right side opens. These are very small movements. It's different than Tai Chi, where the open and closes might be really huge, and so you really can notice it. Here, you notice it because you pay attention. So I see both Catherine and Jack watching themselves inside. All right. Now let's just look at the right side. Let's put that observation aside for a second and just look at the right side as it closes. What does that mean? What's closing? You can do it without the stick. Open, close, open, close. Well, what do you mean close? What's closing? Jack, what's closing?
Well, what I'm feeling and seeing is like this whole sort of thoracic joint is opening and then closing down.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's not the only thing, but that's a really major part of it.
The shoulder is closing,
Yes.
and here,
And what?
here.
Yes, the qua.
Wow.
The qua. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, one of my Tai Chi brothers, Michael Shea, and I were pushing hands after class. And it's just a nice, friendly push hands. We weren't trying to kill each other, right? But you know, you push a little bit, and you test the other guy's balance. And Master Jean came up, and he just stood there and watched us for a minute or two. And then he says in Chinese to Michael, he says something to Michael. And Michael looked a little crestfallen, and well, okay, you know, and then Jean went away. And I asked Michael, what did he say? And he said to me, you're cheating. You're cheating. You're doing it wrong. You're cheating. What do you mean you're cheating? He said, when you're sinking in your knees, not in your qua. Now, the truth is, when you sink, you also do sink in your knees. But what was happening is Michael was substituting his knees for his hip. So he was going like this. But he wasn't really sinking there in the hip. And when you do that, when you sink in the knee but not in the hip, it introduces a degree of stiffness into the hip. And anybody who's really good, when they're pushing hands with you, that's what they're watching for. One among many things they're watching for. So when you practice, right, you're closing. What are you closing? Well, just like you guys said, your shoulder, your thoracic hinge joint, the joint between the chest and the abdomen, and the hip. Those are really the main things. And then the knee and the ankle, and also the elbow and the wrist, and all 28 of the vertebrae in the spine. Everything is closing. And then on the other side, it closes. Well, if it's going to close here, it must be opening on this side, because now you've got to close it again. Close, 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 close. But you could also say open. Open on this side. Open. Open. You need to be aware of those things, but not focus on them so much that you sort of get lost in that intellectual bullshit. All right? It's very simple. Close, 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 close. If we were doing Tai Chi, close. All right? It's the same thing. You're doing exactly the same thing. All right? Close. But it's very, very light. This is practice. If you were learning the piano, what you're playing is Clair de Lune. You're you're not playing Wagner. All right? You're playing something very delicate. Delicate, delicate. Why
Well,
do you do that?
it's so delicate that it's hard to feel for me.
Yes, it is hard to feel. That's exactly right. That's what I was going to say, Catherine. The question is, why are you doing this? Well, there's two reasons. From the health point of view, this is an excellent health exercise. but I'll have to come back to that. Let me go to the Tai Chi side. The reason you practice this for Tai Chi is to develop your ability to hear things. That's a metaphor. It's not that you really hear, to, to sense things. And they want you to be able to sense something almost before the other guy even becomes conscious of it. Master Zhang used to say, when you would tie up with him about that is touch hands, he would say, "You no move, I no move. You move, I move faster." What he meant was, it's not so much that he was moving faster, although he was doing that too. He was able to read the beginning of movement in someone else.
Well, it's like playing chess. You can
How so?
you can sometimes guess what the other player is gonna play.
That's right, only it's not a guess. You can literally sense the beginning of their movement before they consciously make a decision to move. Right? There's actually some science behind that. I'll have to look this paper up, but there were some famous papers published 20 years ago where they determined that the body begins to move before a conscious decision to move is made. Jill, you're nodding your head. You know the one I'm talking about, right? That's kind of counterintuitive.
When I read it, I was like, so basically we're time traveling.
Kind of, kind of. But what happens is when you are developing, so Catherine, you're absolutely right that this is not easy to do at first. It's very subtle. They're asking, by doing this, they're asking you to practice these very subtle arts and become very good at feeling very subtle currents of energy. So the energy doesn't have to be 10,000 volts for you to notice it. It can just be a micro voltage. And just as it starts, you already sense it, you already pick it up. Because in the martial side of things, when you think of this as a martial side, you have no time. Or let's put it a different way. If you can react literally instantly to something, you have a great advantage over people who take a second to react. You think, oh, a second? Well, that's hardly any time at all. That's all the difference between winning and losing. Actually, a tenth of a second makes the difference. Because a lot of Tai Chi, a lot of martial arts, actually comes down to balance. And you think about what balance is. It's actually quite delicate. If you can affect someone's balance before they can do anything about it, you're going to win, or you have a higher ability, higher percentage of wins. Anyway, this is training in something very subtle. And yet when we train, we don't stop and think about all that. We just do this. All right. Sink on the right, sink on the left, sink on the right, sink on the left. Now, a lot of times you might see some master with a stick like this, and he's just doing this. It almost looks like it's a wrist exercise. And of course, it is a wrist exercise in addition to everything else, right? And he's so casual about it. But let's do it formally. Okay, what's the next exercise? What's the next exercise? No. The opposite. Now turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. Now you're opening this side. Instead of closing this side, you're opening this side.
It's not easy.
Sure.
I feel dumb actually. I feel stupid. It's so simple, but at the same time, for me, it is not.
Now, Catherine just said she feels dumb. As a teacher, I like that. The best students feel stupid. They feel dumb. That means they're paying attention. Of course,
Yeah,
you
I'm
feel
paying
dumb.
so much attention that I'm just like feel my body doesn't understand what I want to do.
Exactly. Exactly. This is why it takes years of training to get anything out of this. When you turn it over like this, you're turning the ball like let me get the ball here, right? Right? You're turning the ball like this. Now we're just going to flip it back the other way.
I know, just that.
All right? Turn the ball over. Now turn the ball under. Over. Under. Uh, how many of you can figure skate? All right, who ever gone figure skating? Okay, okay. Go out today and rent yourself a set of skates and find a skating rink. When you first go out on the ice, it's impossible, and it's actually dangerous that you're going to fall, right? Where I grew up in the Midwest, we had a little lake, we had a farm, and we had a little lake on the farm. And in this kind of weather, every evening we'd put on our skates and we'd go out and skate, including my dad, who was a really good skater. He was very graceful, right? There's tricks to it. And the only way to get the tricks is to get out on the ice and just keep practicing, right? Until you get the trick. Same with this. Right? Or reverse. What about if both hands go under? Or both hands go over? All right? Close, open, close, open, close, open. Jill, where in your body should you be when you close? Where's the center of the close? Yes, but not in front, in back. Your Ming Men in back, between your kidneys. All right?
I have a hard time visualizing that one.
When you close, the point that has the most energy is back here, like where the knuckles are. That's your Ming Men. When you open, the point that has the most energy is in front. That's your Tanzhong. Right? One's a little lower than the other. So playing this little game we're doing moves the chi between those 2 points. Between the Ming Men and back, say down here, and the Tanzhong in the chest. All right? Close. Watch. Close. Now, open. Close. Open. Close. So simple. Lower back, center chest. That's kind of a more hydraulic way of understanding the thoracic hinge joint. Now they use in China, the term for flexing that is cherdea. Cherdea is a word that means to stack and fold laundry, right? Like a sheet or something. Right? You clean it, then you stack and fold it, put it away. So what they're talking about is stacking and folding is this. And that's very, very similar to the way that we look at it in the West. So we see it as a hinge joint, right? There's a joint here. The chest is up above, the abdomen is down below, and you can, we'll get it backwards, you can open and close it, open and close it. And that metaphor is actually pretty good, but that's not good enough. That's a metaphor from 400 years ago. Think of a hydraulic piston on a modern earth moving machine, right? So there's a tube and then there's a piston that works inside that tube, right? And it's that hydraulic piston that makes those big mechanical machines work. What we do with the thoracic hinge joint is much more like a piston. So the bottom of the piston is in the back, the top of the piston is in the front. So it's not exactly straight up and down. It's on a little bit of a slant from the back to the front. And the piston goes up and down inside the body. It can come up into the chest, or it can retreat and go into the lower back. Chest, lower back. Chest, lower back. Chest, lower back, right? And that's what you do with everything. You think about this joint. The thoracic hinge joint is the single biggest, strongest joint in the body. And everybody ignores it for the most part. We think about our arms and legs, which of course are important joints too. But the Dan Qian this is the actual center of the energy body. I had a guy online, was watching our videos, and he left me a question. He goes, what's this thing about the Dan Chen? There's nothing there. There's no organ called the Dan Chen. That's right, there is no organ called the Dan Chen. But think about this. Think about the earth, the whole globe of the earth. There is no center to the earth. There's no golden ball down there that's the center. And yet, if you think about it, the gravity that the mass of the earth is creating is drawing everything into one point. That point is the center of the earth. It's a real thing. It's not physical, it's energetic. And that's the same thing with the Dan Chen. Now, the Dan Chen's more than that too, because your abdominal brain is down here, etc., etc. Your navel is down here. This is where you began. But let's leave that complexity aside and just think about this. This is an energy center. All right? The Ming Men is the back of that, you could say. So if you think of your abdomen as a ball, and that ball is actually your Dan Chen. So when you start practicing, your your Dan Chen is about this size, maybe smaller. All right, if you can even find it. All right, Catherine, this
I
is the
don't find
size
it.
of yours. All right, it's a little pea.
Not even.
It's a little pea in here, and you have to find it. Now, it's not physical.
Mhm.
It's energetic, but that doesn't mean it's not real. It's just the form that it comes in. We're not used to thinking about that.
Does
Yeah,
it does it shrink and expand?
yes, it does.
Mhm.
And one of the ways it expands is you do Tai Chi and Qigong and you practice, you expand it on purpose. All right? So it's going to start as a little pea. Now, here's a couple of thoughts. First of all, Qigong and Tai Chi do not give you a Dan Chen. You already have a Dan Chen. Everybody's got a Dan Chen. What does the name Dan Chen mean? It's two words in Chinese, Dan and Chen. Chen means a field, like a field of corn. Dan means a pill, like an aspirin. So it's a pill field, literally. A pill field. What in God's name is a pill field? What they mean is the Dan Chen is the field of self-transformation. The quote-unquote pill refers to Chinese alchemy. This is the place that you change yourself. And one way to think about that change, not the only way, but one way to think about that change is to think about cultivating the Dan Chen itself, the field of self-transformation, so that instead of being small and vestigial, it becomes very large and active. So it's going to start as a little pea. Now, Tai Chi and Qigong didn't give you that. You were born with that. This is your birthright. Tai Chi and Qigong are just one way of cultivating that. So you can think of all the work that we do as a form of gardening. Only this is the field you're gardening in. All right? And these little exercises that we're doing are just like being out in your garden, hoeing the weeds. Hoeing the weeds, turning the ground over a little bit, watering the plants. It's just taking care of yourself. And the more you do this, the more it grows. It's not something, how can I say? You don't make it grow. You just let it grow. You don't
Yeah, it's
make
like a
it
baby.
grow. What's that, Catherine?
It's like a baby. You just let it grow, and it
Yes,
grows.
yes.
Or like a plant where you give it water and sun.
Okay, now that you've raised that up, I have to show you something on the website. Hold on. You see this illustration?
Yeah.
You see this center?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Can you see what's in the center there?
No.
The Tai Chi baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bravo, Jill.
That's exactly what it is. Actually, I got a,
That's
oh, now I
nice.
can't get it. There was a tag that came up here. This guy is opening his own body to reveal to you what's going on in the Dantian. He's creating a Tai Chi baby. You've heard of, in Taoism, you've heard of the immortals, right? The 8 immortals. All famous practitioners from the past who essentially became saints and immortals. That's Chinese alchemy. It's very, very, very similar to European alchemy. Even the terms are the same. So it's really obvious there was communication back and forth between East and West. And the basic, the quote unquote Tai Chi baby is that gentleman they pictured there is cultivating his immortal self. Everybody's got one. Question is whether you're doing anything with it or not. Everybody has musical talent, but not everybody can play the piano. It's the same thing. It is not about a male trying to be a female, because males have a female inside just like females have a male inside. Right? Go study Jung. We are just in balance, yin and yang. So what we practice is a form of Chinese alchemy called Qigong. The Qi in Qigong is your energy. Gong means to cultivate, like to cultivate a garden. So it's energy cultivation. Well, that doesn't mean just Western exercise. What it means is you cultivate the ground of your own being. So what's important is not to, I mean, it's great to become an expert on the exercises and the movements. That's important. But what's really important is to become an expert about yourself. Right? So from my point of view, Catherine is a great beginning student because she says she's stupid.
Oh, great.
No, anybody who thinks they already know what's going on, forget it, because you don't. All right, you have to practice this a long time. It's not about this kind of knowledge. It's about whole being, whole body knowledge. So yes, we can look at and we can talk about all these things, and you need to. It's an important part of it, right? But conquering the exercise is not the point. When I was a kid, my grandfather taught me how to garden. He had a big vegetable garden. And I can remember being a little kid and being down in that garden with bare feet in that warm, dark earth. You know, I'm not sure I wasn't doing anything worthwhile, but I was having a tremendous amount of fun. And he taught me, oh, this is a weed, and this is a vegetable, and here's how you water things, and you do those things. It's just like that. It's so simple. So yeah, you learn how to garden. But the point is not to learn how to garden. The point is to grow vegetables and feed your body. All right? Reverse. Forward. Now I'm going to show you guys a walking stick exercise. You all know it already. You'll know this exercise. And the reverse. Now, can you see, can you feel that those two exercises are exactly the same as this? And reverse. There's a million variations on these exercises, but they end up coming down to the same thing. Right? So, another thing I wanted to say is you should also pay attention to the microcosmic orbit. All right, so the microcosmic orbit orbits the trunk, top of the head, bottom of the spine. All right, when you go forward, your dantian is turning forward, and the microcosmic orbit is also turning forward. The two absolutely gear together. Same way you reverse the dantian, you reverse the microcosmic orbit. So when you are practicing, all right, when you are practicing moving the dantian, you're also practicing the microcosmic orbit. Now, we haven't even talked about where Jill started this whole conversation. That the dantian has hemispheres.
As what?
Hemispheres.
Oh.
All right.
Does the microscopic orbit also?
Say again, Jill.
Is it, did I, all of a sudden,
Microcosmic.
microcosmic, thank you.
Microscope.
Is what?
A little different. The microcosmic orbit, does that also have hemispheres?
What do you think?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right. There's two hemispheres. Your brain has two hemispheres. You're in a sense, your body has two hemispheres, left and right. You have a left brain and a right brain. Right? You have a left and a right dantian. Now there's even more complex versions of this, but this is a way to begin, right? All right, so put an asterisk by that, and maybe later in the week we can talk about that. But think about Tai Chi. I'm going to do a move. I want you to watch left and right of my body, of my dantian, of the microcosmic orbit. Right? You could just do one side. Why do they do both sides? The two sides of the body are doing opposite things. Let me show you one of the functions of it. It's not the only function, but one of the functions. Some guy comes up behind me and starts to shove me in the shoulder. That strengthens the energy of the elbow. This side of the dantian is going like this. This side of the dantian is doing just the opposite. Same with the microcosmic orbit. Now suppose you want to train to do that. Do you want to train at the level I just did it? Don't. That's not the right way to train. For one thing, it's tiring. When you do Fa Jin, that's called Fa Jin. It means explosive energy. Right? Watch. You explode. Bull, energy goes out. You can feel it. You tire yourself out. You do it very gently instead. Just like in the form. Oh, that if you do it correctly, it will give you energy rather than take it. It's very relaxed. And yet, right? It's actually the same thing. The same with the stick. Any of the sticks. If you were to do these exercises at 100%, you'd wear yourself out. So instead, you just do them very gently. Now that gives you energy instead of taking energy. The simple little exercise, you are learning to coordinate all the moving parts of the body. Not really by, somebody asked me online a couple weeks ago, how do you keep track of all this stuff? You know, the bottom of your feet, the top of your head, your toes, your fingers, your nose, you know. Well, you can't, if you think about it that way, you can't keep track of it all. All right? It doesn't matter what sports you're doing, you can't keep track of things that way. There's two tricks to doing this. One is move from the center. If the center moves, everything else just moves naturally. The second thing is you keep your mind very open and very relaxed. It's called global consciousness or global awareness, as opposed to focused awareness. It's not that there's anything wrong with focused awareness. If you try to use focused awareness, okay, what's going on with my feet? What's going on with my elbow? You'll tie yourself into knots. So just relax, relax, relax. Master Zhang used to, as we were trying to learn Tai Chi forms, Master Zhang would be on the side, he'd watch, and after a little while he'd go, Song! Song! Relax. Just relax. Let your body do what it wants to do, even if it's wrong. Because if you keep your body relaxed, it's in the right place to learn. If it's tense, it's not in the right place to learn. So global awareness, you all drive, right? You all drive cars? You already know this. Suppose you're driving down a street in San Francisco, a busy street, and you're looking, I have to go somewhere, I'm not quite sure about the neighborhood, so you're looking for street signs. That's focused awareness. I got to focus on that sign. Okay, oh, this Lombard Street, okay. But you can't drive that way. If you do, you're going to hit something. Oh, I got focused awareness. Oh, I got to watch out for that dog. You can't drive that way. You have to drive with global awareness. You're using your peripheral vision. You're open, you're just relaxed. I see everything, so to speak. All right? That's the kind of mindset you want for when you practice. And yet, I can see what Catherine's thinking. When you're trying to learn, you end up having to focus on the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
That's why it takes so much time.
And energy.
Yeah. And Master Zhang would say the same thing. When you practice, relax. Relax. Be patient with yourself. That's, if you want the two secrets to learning Tai Chi, the first one is patience with yourself. Just be patient. This takes a long time. Does for everybody. The other is be persistent. Practice every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. Just keep your hand in the pot. Just keep stirring the pot. And you will be surprised someday when you look back and you realize you've already climbed half the mountain. You just be patient. So these little exercises, these are important exercises. Right? And reverse. Now, when you do those little exercises, you are integrating 3 levels of your being. The mental level, the energetic level, and the physical level. That's a lot. If you do this enough and get comfortable with it, you'll also integrate your spiritual level. It's just happened. There's lots of ways to do that. This is just one way, but it's a good way. And it's the way I learned. So that's what we're doing in this class. In China, this little exercise we just learned today, they just use it as a little warm-up. And if you were to ask them, what they would tell you is, oh, this is just to warm up your wrist. Just to warm your wrists up. Nothing going on, nothing to see here. All the stuff I told you, that's the condensed experience of being with Master Zhang and Master Feng for 20 years. It's not that they ever gave a lecture like this. That's not the way they teach. They don't tell you things. And there's a reason for that. It's a really good reason. It's out of respect for the student. You go, what? The truth is, this particular path, like any path, is not for everybody. They leave it up to the individual. If you see something in this and you decide you want it, then you come and get it. That's very different than the American way of teaching, where we open your brain up and pour stuff into it. That's not what they do. Yeah? You want it? So Jill, you asked a question earlier about the two hemispheres of the... No, that was a very good question. And Master Zhang may well have answered that in class. Or he may have said this, because he said this all the time. He would have said, Jill, that is an excellent question. Go home. Practice. Search. Search. You find the answer. He absolutely insisted that you find your own answer. And there's a simple reason for that. And Jill already knew the answer, so I felt no compunction mentioning to her, because it was obvious she already knew the answer. Master Zhang wanted you to get this yourself, because then it was real. If it's just something that he told you or something that Master Feng told you, and I've seen this happen, when you discover something yourself, that's important. That sense of discovery is important, and it's real, and it's my God, okay, 2 + 2 = 4. That's worth everything. When somebody tells you, hey, 2 + 2 = 4, I'll tell you what everybody does. They just discount it. Oh, yeah, 2 + 2 = 4, I knew that. Why? Because they didn't work for it. So some teachers will tell you, any answer you get that is not yours is not real. There's a great little story, we'll finish with this. There's a great little story about Shinryo Suzuki, the Zen master who did Zen Center in San Francisco. And one day, after they had done meditation, and the group is having a little discussion, and one of the students says something, and Shinryo Suzuki says, no, that's not right. And the student says, but that's what you said yesterday. And he said, when I said it, it was true. When you said it, it's not true. You've got to, I'm happy to tell you everything that I know, but the truth is, you got to find it yourself to make it real. Okay, guys, that was an hour and 15, well, an hour actually, all right, on one tiny little movement. But the fundamentals of what we were talking about are going to be used in every movement we do, everything we do. Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Malcolm.
Yes.
2 things. One is I will not be here tomorrow, The
Me
other is
neither.
my stick started off cold and now it's warm.
Now it's nice and warm. Okay, so Jack and Catherine can't be here tomorrow. Let's skip tomorrow. We'll pick it up again on Thursday. All right,
At 9:10.
at 9:10, and Jill's going to warm everybody up, doing a little warm up work.
I'm gonna warm your stick ups.
Okay.
Hey.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay, guys, we'll see you next time.